DorkLair.
Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today, I'm taking a look at Prince Dargon, the Sectaurs Warriors of Symbion action figure from Zica Toys. This was a Kickstarter, I think about a year ago or so, maybe like late 2018, middle to late 2018. I didn't participate in that, but I did end up pre-ordering some figures on Big Bad Toy Store, and they just arrived, and these are fantastic. First one I open is Prince Dargon. I remember these as a kid, and this is a totally different style in action figure type. These are 1/18 scale here, and back then they were almost like He-Man, I think, if I remember correctly. And then they had these like mounts that were like puppets that you could put on your hand that were these insect mounts. So a very cool line back then, and a very cool line right now. This is a quality action figure. The articulation is on point. The paint and sculpt work is incredible. Tons of accessories. Really impressed with this figure, right down to the packaging. So let's get into this review. Starting off with a quick look at the packaging. I love this card. In fact, I like it so much that I ended up ordering a couple of the soldiers as like collector grade so that I could have some nice flat ones on card and maybe hang them on my wall or what have you. But beautiful artwork. The logo is awesome. Just brings back some of that kind of classic vibe. These are actually the same dimensions as a vintage collection or a classic Kenner card back, and the same thing as a Super 7 reaction. The corners are a little less rounded than a reaction figure, but you can see that those are all the same dimensions. So if you have star cases or whatever that you want to like store these in, I'm sure they'll fit just fine. So you can kind of see how they look next to their counterparts there. And then one other one that I just want to show you it next to. So you can see is the 5-point Space Ghost is slightly smaller than this. And I did a review on that very recently. And then to get a look at the card, at the back of the card, you can see that here there's a bit of a bio of the line of the world, and then you have the waves. So you have Prince Dargon, who I'm reviewing here today, Spydrax, who I also have, and then you have Mantor, Zack down here, the Skull Soldier, and then the Royal Guard over there. And that's the standard grade logo from Big Bad Toy Store. Okay, next up, getting a look at the sculpt, paint work, details. It's very nice. It's kind of impressive at this scale. I mean, the eyes are super clean. The hair is painted. I think the face is cast in that plastic color, but it looks pretty good. Not too shiny, and it looks shinier on video. And then you have the antenna. You can see like the paintwork is varied. So the pearl kind of blue of the body and the gauntlets and gloves and stuff. And then there's a slightly more subdued kind of black going on here. So almost like a flatter black. You got the stripes down the leg. The belt here is like a separate piece, and it's a very soft rubber. And so like you can stick the pistol right in there. And there is some nicely detailed sculpt work going on in the belt as well. If I get the light to catch that just right. So very nice looking, very beautiful sculpt work. And at this scale, it's quite impressive. And then here's a good look at his emblem. I'm sure there's a story behind his what do you call it? His pendant, whatever you call that thing. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, generally speaking, yeah, this thing is pretty awesome looking. Got musculature, armor, couple different kinds of paint finishes, beautiful sculpt work in the head, nice cleanly painted eyes, bug eyes, and yeah, pretty good looking figure. For accessories, he comes with this rifle that's got like an ammo clip on top, and then the handle is painted a little bit of a black. So there's a little bit of a color variation there. Little paint applications on the rifle. He does come with a pair of pistols, and those can go right into his holsters here, and they look great in there. And I believe that's a classic throwback. Like I kind of remember these guys having pistols and you being able to store them in their holsters, if I remember correctly. And he comes with a sword that's got the insect like sort of patterning on it, and little bit of paintwork on the handle there, but nicely sculpted sword. And he's got a shield. And then the shield comes with a clip here, a strap here that you can stick on right here. And so you can wrap that around his arm. Get it on here. So there you see that rubber strap there that can go around his arm. And then you can have his hand holding this and then strap it onto his arm. Finally, he comes with a bunch of hands. So he's got actually 4 regular gripping hands. I can't tell. It's hard to tell. Let me just put the 2 next to each other. So I think that these are one slightly bigger than the other. So maybe one's for the shield, one's for the sword. He's got a pair of trigger hands for his pistol and rifle. And one of my favorite things about this figure is he comes with action hands, makes for so many cool poses. And then here's just a quick look with his shield attached. So fully loaded with accessories. And one final thing about the accessories, it does come with a little bit of a precautionary warning to when you're swapping out the hands, especially to make sure that you warm it up with a blow dryer. Because yeah, they're very, very tiny and it's just plastic, so it could snap. All right, so getting a look at the size of this guy, I brought in my ruler today. So he's just under 4 inches, so pretty close to like your typical 3 3/4 inch scale figure. And let's take a look at him next to a few other characters. First up here he is next to a vintage X-Wing pilot and a vintage collection modern X-Wing pilot, Luke. Next up here he is next to a couple Mezco 5 points figure. On the right we have Gomez Hazard Squad, and then on the left we have Space Ghost. And finally we have him next to a couple modern super articulated 1/18 scale figures. On the left we have the Vitruvian Hacks boss fight Knight of Accord, and on the right we have the Prospector from Acid Rain World. Okay, finally for articulation, this guy moves really well and you can put him in some awesome poses. So his head will cock side to side and spin all the way around, and you can kind of look up and down a little bit. So some pretty good motion in the head there. And then the arm is on a swivel that will come up very far. Very nice articulation up in that arm there, and it will spin all the way around. It will spin at the elbow, and then the elbow will come up this far, so past 90 degrees, even though it is single jointed. So swivel there at the elbow. There's no swivel at the gauntlet there at the forearm, but there is a swivel at the wrist and then also a hinge, and you can hinge back and forth pretty well there on the wrist. The other wrist is the same. It's not the opposite. Like sometimes the figures come with like one vertical, one horizontal. These are both horizontal. He's on a ball joint at the waist, and it pops off pretty easily, so don't get too worried if that you're gonna like break it, because once you get past a certain like point, it will just kind of pop off. Nice big chunky ball joint. I'm not worried about breaking it, but he has some pretty good crunch considering, which is very good for this scale figure. So it moves kind of really well. You can get him in. I think that's probably one of the biggest contributors to all the great action poses you can put him in. He can move really well. It feels a lot like some of your bigger figures here in terms of how it can move and how many like kind of action poses you can do there. Then at the hips, it's on a ball, and so he can swivel, and then he can also kick forward and back. And then there's no cut at the thigh, but the swivel is pretty good to get like a lot of range. It's not limited. Like usually a Star Wars vintage collection figure, there's usually some point where something's weird that makes it limited. He has double jointed knees that come up really far. Nothing at the boot cut, but then at the ankle, he can pivot side to side. It will spin around and so on. So lots of great motion. Oh, something I didn't mention in the accessories is it has magnets on the feet, and I haven't actually tried it yet. I need to find something metal over here. Is this metal? Let me see if this is metal here. Nope, that's not metal. Let me find something metal and I'll be right back. All right, so I grabbed my metal lunchbox, the gold Gomez lunchbox, and I'm going to try to put him on here. Let's see. Yep, so he magnetizes right onto it pretty well. Kind of get a look at him there. And so, yeah, so the magnetized feet work pretty well. And I just be careful, because I did hear from one member of the Figure Collective Discord. Actually, fittingly, his name is Bug. He told me that his little magnets came out of there. So you just want to be kind of gentle with those. And if they pop out, you'll want to, keep an eye on them, because those could get lost super easily. Maybe glue them in there so that they're nice and tight. But there he is, magnetized to the Bug lunchbox. Everything is Bug. So that's my video. We got a lot of bugs going on here. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my Instagram at @DorkLair. And until next time, may the force be with you.
Follow me into the